They held years of hearings. They questioned doctors, military officials, FBI agents, and senators. They destroyed thousands of lives. And in all of it, not one gay person was ever allowed to speak. No testimony, no defense, no voice in the room. They were discussed, investigated, and erased, without a single word in their own defense. This is the Lavender Scare, and it's the Cold War story nobody taught you. To understand what happened, you have to understand the America of 1950. The Soviet Union had just tested its first nuclear bomb. China had fallen to communism. The Korean War was starting. Fear was the operating system of the United States government. And into that fear stepped Senator Joseph McCarthy. On February 9, 1950, McCarthy stood before Congress and claimed he had a list. 205 known communists employed by the State Department. The number changed every time he said it. The evidence never materialized, but the panic did. What most history books skip is that in the same speech, McCarthy singled out 2 cases involving homosexuality. He told Congress that communists and gay people shared what he called peculiar mental twists. That was the match, and Washington was dry timber. The logic the government built was simple and devastating. Gay federal employees, they argued, could be blackmailed, and a blackmailed employee was a security risk, and a security risk was essentially a Soviet weapon. It didn't matter that there was no evidence of this ever happening. The reasoning was enough. Gay people were reframed not as citizens, but as vulnerabilities. People with, in the government's own words, weak moral character. In 1947, the US Park Police had already launched what they called a sex perversion elimination program in Washington, D.C. In 1948, President Truman signed a law that classified homosexuality as a mental illness and allowed police to arrest and institutionalize gay people. The machinery was already built. McCarthy just turned it on. In March 1950, 2 senators formed a committee, just 2 men, Republican Kenneth Wherry and Democrat J. Lister Hill. They began calling federal departments, demanding names. The government's response was immediate. Before the full investigation even began, close to 100 employees had already resigned, because the choice facing suspected employees was impossible. Resign quietly, or be publicly outed on the congressional record. Most resigned. That resignation rate convinced Congress that the threat was real, and so they expanded. The Hoey Committee was formed. 8 senators, a full staff, 6 months of hearings. They surveyed every branch of the military, every civilian department, every agency. The FBI began instructing police departments across the entire country to flag any arrest involving a federal employee. Any arrest, any city, any charge. A man could be picked up in California for a minor offense and lose his government job 2,000 miles away in Washington, D.C., the same week. They built a surveillance net that covered the entire country, and they aimed it at their own people.
Here is what the government never acknowledged. The threat they kept citing, blackmail, required secrecy, and it was the government's own persecution that forced gay people into secrecy. The closet that supposedly made them vulnerable was built by the same institutions, now using it as justification to destroy them. Senator Margaret Chase Smith, the only woman on the Hoey Committee, asked the doctors, "Is there no quick test, like an X-ray, that discloses these things?" The doctor replied, "No, unfortunately. It is a long interview affair.
They wanted a machine that could identify gay people on sight. When that failed, they built something worse. A system of informants, surveillance, arrest records, and forced resignations that functioned as a slow, quiet, administrative destruction. No courtroom, no trial, no conviction. Just a letter, a file, a permanent mark, and a career gone.